Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be part 2 of my 2020 bullet journal series. Feel free to look back to part 1 if you wanted a more comprehensive look at the first part of my bullet journal, since I go more into detail there. And in part 1 I also shared the months of January, February, and most of March. So let's get started. I won't go through all of the pages at the start of my bullet journal again because those are all in part 1, but I did want to share a few updates that I made to the pages. So starting with the themes of 2020, as you can see, I filled in April, May, and June with their corresponding themes and color schemes, which I think turned out quite cute. There's still that blank page next to it, still deciding what to do there. The next page that I started updating was my books. I went ahead and created 3 more shelves at the bottom of the page because I could tell I was running out of space quickly. With all the quarantining and everything that happened, I got through a lot more books than I ever anticipated for this year, blowing my original goal of 20 out of the water. I think I'm around at 30 right now, which is just crazy to think about since I did not expect to get anywhere close to that when I first started this bullet journal. Now, I'm not sure if I will read enough books to fill out the rest of the pages, but since this year seems to be going pretty low-key and I don't have a lot of other things planned, since it's kind of hard to make plans, I anticipate that I probably will fill up the page. If I do finish this page and run out of room completely, I do have some extra pages at the back of my bullet journal that I don't have allocated to anything quite yet, so I might have to start a second page of books. Really quickly for the musicals and events page, clearly that one is not going to plan at all, which does suck because I did really like how this one turned out, looking a bit of a playbill, but it is what it is. I think that I will probably end up putting some of the virtual events that I've seen onto this page, as well as virtual musicals. I've shared a bit about those virtual musicals that I've seen on my blog, so if you follow me there you won't be surprised, and that way I can fill up the page a little bit more, especially because a lot of the musicals for 2020 have either been completely cancelled or postponed to 2021, or really postponed until further notice, so I really doubt that I'll see many more, if any at all, this year. Here are the 2 final March pages. If you watched part 1, you might recall that March hadn't been fully completed at the time that I uploaded it because I did film it when it was about halfway through the month. Now that I have the completed pages, I thought I would quickly share them with you so that way you guys can see how I finished off that month. I started with a quarantine page. Since it was supposed to be a 2-week quarantine, I just wanted to jot down some really quick ideas that would get me through the 2 weeks. Of course, this was all extended quite a bit further than we all thought, but even so, these ideas were really helpful and I really enjoyed making this page. I did pull some inspiration for this page from Pinterest, but mostly I kind of ended up wanting it to look like it was a gallery wall, so that's why I have like a little daisies thing right there. That was meant to be like a picture frame of sorts, and then a little home section to remind me to stay home, of course. And then I also put my I voted sticker, which was pretty much the last time that I had left my house before the quarantine had really started. The last page of March was my spring cleaning page. So like many people, spring cleaning is a big thing for me, or I try to make it a big thing. So I jotted down a few ideas of what I thought might need cleaning and what areas of my house I wanted to focus on. I did end up doing a lot of these during those 2 weeks, which kind of left me with very little left after the 2 weeks were over, but I've been able to find several other things to straighten up or to declutter throughout the time that I've been in quarantine, so it's not so bad. Moving on to April, as you can see here, I took a rainy day approach and I decided to pick blue as the main color for April. I'm in Northern Illinois and springs do get quite rainy around this time, so I figured why not reflect that in my bullet journal for this month. Really quickly, here is my calendar spread. I had thought about making it a 1-page spread because, well, quarantine and there didn't seem to be a lot going on for the month, but even then I found a few things to put on here. Moving on to my habit trackers, I followed the same format that I had started in March. I really liked that format and I really liked that there was a little place next to it for the activity log. I did cover that up just because some of the stuff I think makes it a little bit more private, but as you can see there, I had a really nice time alternating colors for actually tracking the habits, and that was a really fun time. The next page is the blog planner page. I really like this format in general. I love how I have those grids so that I can check everything off. I like to track how every post is going, when I've finished writing it, when I've done photos, when I've scheduled it, posted, and then when I'm fully done with it, as in I've interacted with everybody who's interacted with me, responded to comments, and so on. At the bottom, I keep a running list of all the ideas I have for that post and anything I want to bring up, which is always really helpful for when I'm writing it. Then the final 2 pages for April are the fun pages. As you can see there, spring and quarantine, I had a few more ideas. I actually didn't like how this one turned out as much as I did the March page. Looking back, I probably would have wanted to do something more like that page. At the time, I didn't want it to seem like I was just copying it over, and I wanted more of a free space around everything. But it kind of just looks a little, I don't know, lackluster, I suppose. So I wasn't too thrilled with that page. But again, it was very nice to come up with some more ideas, especially because at this point, it was clear that quarantine was going to stretch out a lot longer. And the final page for April was an ideal day in quarantine. Again, this has been such a big portion of my life, so I really wanted to reflect that in my bullet journal. I could have just taken the page, forgotten about quarantine, done something completely different, but I felt that that was more genuine to include quarantine in these pages when it was such a big deal and so prevalent. I found the idea for the ideal day on Pinterest. I just loved that idea, and I figured I would do it for this, for the quarantine. The next month was May. I really worked hard on this month because that is my birth month. And if you all recall, I did Birth May throughout the entire month of May, so I blogged every single day over on my blog. For this month, I picked pink to be my theme color because that is my favorite color. And then I picked some tulips because around my birthday, the tulips are just gorgeous outside. Again, because of the quarantine, I didn't have a lot going on, but I did put down my birthday, my sister's birthday, Mother's Day. For my habit tracker, again, I covered the activity logs just to keep that private, but I followed the same format as I did for April, and I alternated the colors as well for all the habits. I really enjoyed this one, and I was so proud of myself because I actually managed to do something active every single day, which was amazing since I had not accomplished that in 2020 yet. The following page is usually my blog planner, but I ended up changing it because it just was not going to work out with everything that I had going on for May. Instead, what I did is that I did a Birth May 2021, and I did a little simple grid 1 through 31, and every single day I put what blog post was going up that day. I've mentioned before how I wanted to get a little bit more creative and artsy on my bullet journal, so this is one of the pages that I really took the initiative to do that. I covered up my birthday letter to myself because that's a little bit more private and personal, but it was quite lovely, and it was a really nice time to just take a moment to write something to myself about how this past year went and how I want the next year to go. On the next page, I made myself a little cupcake. Since I've been baking a lot, I figured it would be quite appropriate to do. I took some of the lessons I learned from my travel page and used a lot less water, so it didn't bleed through as much, but it still bled through a little bit. I love how simple the page looks. One of my friends suggested that I make myself a nice bucket list for what I want to do either by 30 or for my 30s, and I kind of did it for my 30s, but with focusing on what I can accomplish in the year before I turn 30. I covered them up just because I want to make blog posts out of some of them, and so therefore I don't really want to give any spoilers quite yet, but I really hope that all 30 of these come true in the next year. Now for the final month that I will share in part 2 is June. I decided to go with green for the color because it reminds me of the garden and all the leaves outside. And I picked some sort of like weird palm tree kind of leaves thing, even though I don't really think it ended up working quite as how I imagined it. It's still kind of cute and I like the cover page, but I really feel like I am just not very talented at drawing palm leaves, which is perfectly fine. Once again, my calendar just isn't very full. There's not a lot going on. As you can see, I am filming this around mid-June, so I don't have all of my habits filled in yet. I am alternating colors again though, and again I just covered up my activity log, but there it is. And this month I tried a new blog planner format. I really liked the top of the old blog planner and I liked how clean it looked and how grid-like it looked. The bottom was kind of messy and didn't really correlate well with the top. I'm still not completely satisfied with it, so I might tweak it again, but it does work very well for now. And I really like that the notes for each post are right next to that post title, so everything is kept together. I do have a lot of light green going on for the next couple of pages, so it might not be super easy to read on camera, but I really wasn't creating it for camera content. I was making it for myself, so I just didn't think of how those colors would translate onto the camera. I wanted to have some sort of tracker for everything I was baking. Again, I've been baking quite a bit, so I just wanted one place where I could look back, see everything that I had made, and then therefore it would be a little easier when gathering my thoughts for my posts later on. For the baking page, I started with a little green bowl, which I actually do have in real life, along with a little spoon to stir everything. And off of that, I have made little boxes and started filling out with what I have made, a little bit of my thoughts on it, and where that recipe came from. The following page is my garden page, and I just put little drawings of all the plants that we have growing right now. I tried to make it look how they would look fully grown, but some of them I don't think turned out quite accurate. Either way, it was a lot of fun to make and really fun to write out everything that's growing right now. And here's the final spread for June. On one page, I did an entire tree dedicated to Frida, my new fiddle leaf fig tree. So I kind of drew Frida to the best of my ability, which is maybe not that great. I don't know what Frida would think of it if she saw it, but I'd like to think that I kind of got the essence of her. Kind of. I dedicated the final page of June to a summer checklist. Even though quarantine restrictions are lifting, they are lifting very slowly, and even then, I don't want to go too crazy and, bust out of the house or anything. For the most part, I think my plans are to have a very low-key summer. It might not be the most ambitious checklist, but I am perfectly fine with that. I'm still looking forward to the summer, even if I can't really do much outside of my home, and I'm sure it's going to be great regardless. So that's it for my bullet journal for now. Thank you everyone who enjoyed my part 1 for my bullet journal series, and I hope you enjoyed part 2 as well. I do plan to continue and make a part 3 and eventually a part 4 for my bullet journal, so I hope you'll come back for those. I certainly see the appeal of bullet journals, and I have really enjoyed doing this. I know I picked it up on a whim at the end of last year into 2020, but I'm so glad that I did. And in case anybody is out there thinking that they might want to start a bullet journal, I say go for it. You don't have to wait for any specific point in the year. You can literally just go to the store, pick one up. You don't need fancy equipment. All you really need is just any old notebook and a pen or pencil. But again, that is all for now. Thank you so much for joining me, and I can't wait to share the next portion of my bullet journal. Bye!